Good morning. So, I'm going to attempt to do this a little bit differently because I'm sure you're tired of my vertical videos. But I do have a story to tell while I put on my makeup. And it is a crazy story. So, I just bought a house. Like, I officially moved in here at I guess it was the end of March. But I closed on it at the beginning of March. But this house needed a lot of painting. Like, this room was not this color. It was not yellow. It was a very different color. There was pink. They'd painted all the molding pink. It was a child's room, but it desperately needed to be painted. So now it's yellow because it's my office and I like yellow. So anyway, a couple of days before I was closing on the house, and I'm not one of the people, a lot of people got really crazy about I need to buy a house when the pandemic hit. I was one of them. But I was not going to just buy anything. I was going to buy something I could afford and that wasn't needing $8 million worth of work. So I found this house. I was using a realtor, but we found the house on an open house, which was great. So anyway, fast forward, find the house. We're going to close on it. Well, my dad was helping me a lot, but I was closing on it. It's my own house, nobody else's name on it. And a couple days before closing, I was kind of stressed out and when I'm stressed out, I do this fun thing. I make decisions on things and say yes to things that I probably normally would not say yes to. I had somebody give me a call saying they were getting kicked out of their house. Now, I couldn't really say she's a friend of mine, but she was in a couple of improv classes I was doing online. And I've only met her like twice in person. So I was like, okay. And it was like 9 o'clock at night. It was weird. And when I saw my phone ring, I don't think I had spoken to her in like 6 months, just because there's really not a connection between the two of us. And I decided to answer the phone, and I probably shouldn't have, and I kind of regret it now. She's like, I'm being kicked out of my mother's house. There was a fight. I have no place to go. Can you pick me up? And she didn't live far from me. I was living in South County, but like barely South County in St. Louis, and she lives in the city, so she's like 15 minutes from me. So I'm like, okay. So I went and picked her up, being nice and all. And she was telling me about how her mom's a terrible person and got a court order to get her out of the house. That should have been my first clue. She's 32. She had a job. Like, I knew she had a job because she was working when I had my class with her. But she had an incident at one of her jobs where they got held up. So I'm sure that was not helping. And so I'm like, okay. So I went and I picked her up. I totally forgot real makeup, didn't I? It's okay. I'll just cover it up and put it down again. No, I did put on real makeup. Anyway, I am slightly distracted. So I ended up going to pick her up, and she told me what happened. She's kind of a quiet person, so she wasn't filling me in on everything, but like I knew her from class, and she was kind of a quiet person. She was fun, but she was kind of a quiet person. No big deal. Lots of people are quiet. So I get her back to my house. Now, my son does live with me part-time, but he's in college, so, and I knew he wasn't going to be back for a few weeks, and I'm like, well, you can stay in his room, he's not in his room anyway, so it doesn't really matter. So she gets put in her room, and I figure we'll talk about it later. This is the thing. She wasn't really good at giving me all the details about what was going on. And so I started immediately trying to help her find a job because, she can't live at my house forever. And the other reason why I felt like I said yes, at least this is what my reasoning was after the fact, that, there was an end date. I was moving. she can't stay there because I wasn't going to be living there. And if she did try to stay, my landlord would certainly get her out because he does not put up with stuff. And I know that for a fact. I'm a good tenant, and I already know what he does to bad tenants. So, she stays there. She goes on some job interviews. She gets food delivered to my house because she doesn't have a car, which is another problem. I didn't really give her a ride many places, maybe a handful of times, but she was pretty quiet. And when I wasn't there, she let my dogs out. It was fine. I didn't ask for any money from her. She said that she got her tax return and that's how she was going to pay for her own stuff. So it was fine. I even offered, I said, hey, you see all that sandwich stuff or whatever in the fridge or in the freezer? Please eat it because I'm moving. I don't want to move it. No big deal. So we get to almost 30 days. She still has no place to go. And I have a friend. This is where the story gets crazy. I have a friend who used to do Airbnb out of her house. And so I reach out to her. And she first says no because she has a boyfriend living with her. And then about a week later, she's like, never mind, he moved out. So anyway, she's like, if your friend is still interested, I could help her out. So I decide to move myself out of it. I'm like, okay, here's your contacts to each other. You talk to each other. I'm not involved. So they make a decision. She's going to stay there for 30 days for a very little amount of money, like $150. And my friend is being nice because she has been in bad situations herself in the past, and anybody who's in a situation like that, she's going to try to help out. So that happens, and I move, and I don't hear from either of them for like a whole month. And I figure, well, hopefully she got her act together and found a job, and Amy my friend didn't have to have her there forever. Well, this past Saturday, because I remember it was the 23rd was supposed to be the last day, which was 3 days ago. So I get a text on Sunday morning, which is not the 23rd, it's the 24th. And it's my friend, and she's really upset. She's like, I'm not mad at you, but I cannot get this person out of my house. She yelled at me because I told her that she needed to be out by a certain time. I told her I didn't want to be yelled at. You can't yell at me in my own house, so you need to be out of here by 9 p.m. As the evening draws on, apparently the cops are called, and one of the cops recognized the person living in her house saying, oh yeah, I helped evict her from her mom's house. Great. So, I talked to my friend on the phone on Sunday. She was not upset at me, which I'm kind of amazed by because I would be upset at me. But, I really didn't know that this was going to be a problem. She was totally fine. I dropped her off at my friend.